Good afternoon and welcome to Licensing Subcommittee. I will start by reading out some points from the protocol. Please only speak when invited to by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Please ensure mics are muted when you are not speaking, apart from the chair. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated timeframes. If you are referring to a specific page or picture in the report, refer to the page number. If you have technical difficulties, please use the chat function in the Google Meet. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions. Any persistent disruptive behaviour will result in removal from the meeting. Applicants and all other parties will be asked to leave the meeting after the item is considered. Each party will be notified of the decision within 5 days. Agenda item 1 is the election of chair. Please could I ask the subcommittee to appoint a chair?
I'd nominate Councillor Bell to be chair, please.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. So if we go through the formal agenda first, we have apologies for absence Councillor Smith, who unfortunately is feeling ill, could not participate today. Are there any declarations of interest? I have none. None from Councillor Purevier. And in terms of our hearing procedure, both Mr. Newman and Mr. Tuitt, you're both very familiar with it. But in brief, after introduction from licensing, we will hear from the applicant to make their case, then any responsible authorities, and then we would hear from any other persons who are objecting to the application. We would then go for a discussion phase, and at the end of that, we'll invite parties to sum up in the same order as the initial remarks. And then, after any final clarifications, we will ask you to leave, and we will make our decisions. We will publish them and send them out via email as soon as possible, but normally takes between 3 and 5 days just to tidy up the paperwork. So with that, we have no less than 7 sets of minutes attached to this agenda from a range of meetings over the last 6 months. Councillor Pluvier and I were in attendance in all of those and are satisfied that they are all an accurate record of the meetings. So we're content to approve all 7 at this stage. So with that, it's over to our single agenda item for today, which is for premises license for Santo Romedo, 55 Great Eastern Street. So Suba, if you could please introduce the case.
Thank you, Chair. Licensing Service received an application for a premises license under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003 for 55 Great Eastern Street for late night refreshment and to authorize the supply of alcohol for consumption on the premises, as stated in the agenda. Only licensing representation remains. The applicant has submitted additional information which has been circulated. I have nothing else to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So the parties I'm expecting to hear from are Andy Newman as agent for the applicants, and I can see Natalie Ferry and Edison Fuentes are the actual applicants, aren't you? So I can see you. And we have, not with us at the moment as far as I can tell, but possibly speaking in support of your application, Ross Clark and Manuel Sabrib. Here's one of them. So with that, it's Mr. Newman. I think you're going to lead in making the case.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please do.
Right. It's been set out by Suba. This is an application for a small, fantastic Mexican restaurant on the outskirts of the special policy area of 55 Great Eastern Street. This is where we have no objections from any of the authorities outstanding, save Mr. Tuitt, purely on special policy area grounds. The applicants have previously managed a restaurant at 22 Rivington Street, which has no issues whatsoever, and a much larger place in Tooley Street in Southwark, which has never had any issues whatsoever. We have received 4 emails in support, 3 of which are background evidence, including Mr. or Senor Manuel Diaz-Cibriab, a former European Minister for Tourism for Mexico for 11 years, who talks about Mexican gastronomy and UNESCO heritage. We would respectfully submit that, given COVID and the negative effect of that on the nighttime economy, that the evidential base for the special policy area has been somewhat affected. A number of premises have sadly gone out of business. This is also a seated waiter or waitress service premises, which is alluded to in your policy, to mention how there's a shortage of this kind of establishment in Shoreditch. We would submit that, given the effective management of this place, the predominantly local clientele, as evidenced from the 4 people who've come forward, 2 who live above and 2 others who live in the area, that it will have minimal effect on the special policy area, and even less of a negative effect because of the type of people that are attracted to this venue and the way that it will be managed and run. It is innovative, as set out in the papers, and also with the special policy area, a number of councils, Birmingham, Bristol, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, Hartlepool and Hereford, removed their CIAs. Even Westminster accepts that there's need for change. And we also have I don't need to remind you, but the Mayor's vision for London, also the Minister of Justice and Policing's vision to look positively at applications, plus the need for Santo Romedo to both sustain and grow the business, given the negative impact of COVID. So we would respectfully invite your good selves to grant the licence if you are so minded. Thank you.
Are you calling your clients still to speak? No?
If there's time, I would like...
You've got another 2 minutes, yeah.
Another 10 minutes. Yes, in that case, I would definitely like ask both of my clients to speak as to how it is run, their experience, and why this should be granted, please. Thank you. If we can start with Natalie, if that's okay.
Well, we have a restaurant on Tooley Street. As mentioned, we've always been very respectful and mindful of our neighbours. We're actually considered a neighbourhood restaurant by many of our customers and our guests who, both when we were in Shoreditch and also now in Tooley Street, welcome our type of restaurant. As Andy mentioned, it's a sit-down table service restaurant. People book in to come at set times for their meal and then leave. So we've never had any issues with big groups of people leaving, making noise, any of that sort of thing. We have lived in Shoreditch, in the special policy area, and we also live now in the area where we have our current restaurant. So we are not only business owners, but also residents as well. So we understand the importance of that. We also make sure that our guests always leave in a respectful manner, although to be honest, there's never been any need to do anything. People leave either by swiftly walking to the tube station or calling an Uber while they're in the restaurant and then going outside. As Andy mentioned, our current restaurant, well, normally would have been about 100 covers. It's now 50 because of COVID. The premises we're requesting the license for is at maximum capacity 35. Realistically, it'll probably be much less for a while. And we are, confident that the type of guests that would come will not be causing disturbance, and that we and our team will make sure to manage any potential issues.
Hi there, my name is Edson, one of the owners, and our dreams is we established the first restaurant in Shoreditch originally has been always to cook the food I grew up eating in Mexican food and bring the the flavor of my culture to Londoners and to the UK. And we just want to purely keep doing that and generate some jobs and bring the culture to the neighborhoods we love. That's the reason why we live in London, basically, because of the diversity and the cultural melt. So that's, as a chef, that's primarily the purpose of this, and obviously knowing that we need to melt properly with the ethos and neighborhood. So that's primarily what we want to do, bring those flavors. And we are essentially a restaurant, table service restaurant, and hopefully we can carry on sharing that with the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just for clarity, the application does not contain off sales. So we're just considering on sales today, aren't we? Councillor Pluvier, do you have any
Yes, sir.
questions? No? In that case, we'll move on. Mr. Chewett, so make a representation, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the representation is in today's agenda at Appendix B. So essentially it just sets out that the premises is within the Shoreditch Special Policy Area, which is the reason for making a representation. And that area obviously is of concern to the council due to the saturation of licensed premises in that area, therefore having a negative impact on the promotion of the licensing objectives, in particular prevention of crime and disorder and public nuisance. I do note that the premises is of quite a small nature, so 35 covers. Full restaurant condition has been accepted. Representations from the police have been withdrawn. All of these are factors in favour of the grant of the licence, I must say. However, we do have that matter that the premises is located within the special policy area, which is the reason why I've maintained the representation today. Thank you, Chair.
And is it fair to point out that although some businesses have stopped trading within the SPA, in many cases the licenses have not been surrendered?
We're at the moment seeing a lot of licenses changing hands over the last few months, I think it's fair to say. So we don't know to what extent the area would have changed. I think, just speaking from experience, last year, after July, from July onwards, should I say, the Shoreditch area was particularly busy, quite a lot of stress on the authorities in that area. So I expect Shoreditch to quite quickly recover to what it was before. But having said that, this is a restaurant premises of quite a small size, so that's a factor in today's for consideration today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pluvier, any questions, Mr. Chewett?
No, I don't think. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. If I can move on to other persons. Manuel, can I invite you to speak for a couple of minutes? If you could unmute, please. Mr. Newman, yeah?
So whilst I'd like Manuel to speak, my understanding is his background evidence, if you're so minded to ask, I'd more than welcome it. It's just for your information. I think only Mr. Clark put in a representation within the time, just to be fair.
Okay, that's an important point. Mr. Clark, I saw you joining the call. Are you there? Mr. Clark, if you could unmute and speak for about 2 minutes in support of the application.
Sure. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I think I've lived and worked in the area as a DJ, as a music promoter, as a filmmaker since 1993. So I've seen, a massive transformation in Shoreditch and understand what David was talking about and the why that area was created. I was part of that explosion of licensed premises and what I would call DJ bars, frankly, which are, materially different from a neighborhood restaurant. Obviously, I'm not 25 anymore, as I was when I started living in Shoreditch, and I'm now 53. And what was refreshing when, going to Natalie and Edson's restaurant was it was a time at which, and this was when they were originally in Shoreditch and now they're in Tooley Street, was a time at which there were really no, what I'd call mid-price neighborhood restaurants. You have I've written about this, I've consulted on this. You have a kind of DJ bar culture, and you have a high-end Shoreditch house kind of explosion around expensive gentrification, city, whatever you want to call it, youth culture. But you don't really have many restaurants that cater for the new demographic of that area, and that new demographic and those people that come to these kind of restaurants essentially don't go there to party, to throw up in the street, to get drunk out of their minds. They go there because they want to meet their friends, have a nice meal like you would in any neighborhood restaurant around London or in the country, and eat good food and experience other cultures. And that's a significant material difference that I can say with absolute certainty that I've both experienced in their restaurant and seen the changes in the neighborhood, which frankly haven't always been for the best, which is why you as the council have, obviously tried to tackle this and tackle the disturbances. But I think, as you know, why would the police not want something like this in the area to counter a kind of culture which is, what you might call I don't know, and some antisocial behaviour, including binge drinking, etc., etc. I mean, I've seen both sides of the coin. I understand the concerns about the number of licences in the area, but this is, as I say, a restaurant which is, frankly, materially and culturally different in a way in which I can't imagine why there would be any disturbances or any nuisance. Having known Edson and Natalie since they opened their restaurants, the way they run them is particularly.
Thank you very much. That's well made.
Thank you.
I'm going to exercise my discretion, and since Mr. Sabreen has turned up, you can do virtually. I'll give you a minute or two at the very most to make a contribution if you wish. So do you want to mute yourself and then? I think you're still on mute.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned on my letter, I know Edson and Natalie very well. Mexican, I used to be I'm the former director for the Mexican Tourism Board, Minister of Tourism. I've been following every single gastronomy venture and restaurant here. And I had to say, on top of being Santo Romedo, one of the most authentic Mexican restaurants, it has the atmosphere that me as Mexican, I'm proud to say that it's quiet, and that people go there to get a nice meal, not to get drunk. Unfortunately, Mexican restaurants have the reputation that you just go there like a cantina. This is not a cantina. This is a proper restaurant. I've been living in Shoreditch, and as I heard before, the area has changed a lot. But I think there are not many Mexican restaurants. At least there's not a single Mexican restaurant which is good, authentic, and quiet. And this will be a wonderful addition. I was very, very sad when they originally had to leave the Rivington venue, because it was for us fantastic. Most of the people in Shoreditch, especially in the area where I live near to Austin, were very happy to have a different kind of restaurants. It's full of Italians, it's full of Lebanese, it's full of Turkish. So we need something different. And I think Santo Romedo will be a nice, cute, and refined addition to portray the Mexican cuisine, which is a fantastic gastronomy.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think it's fair to summarize discussion that it is a very small premises compared to types of premises that we were alarmed about within the SPA. The core hours seem to be within those that we try to prefer, and there is a condition about meal with food. Obviously, we consider that very important where it is in existence. Councillor Pluvier, were there any questions or points you had?
No, thanks, Chair. No, nothing.
Amanda, do you think there's anything we should have asked about that we haven't asked about?
No, I have nothing further to add.
Okay. Mr. Mr. Newman, do you want to add anything by way of summing up?
Yeah, two things, if I may, Mr. Bell, and thank you very much for allowing Senor Manuel Diaz-Ciprian to speak. We're honoured to have him here, and of course I was going to say, if there are any questions on especially the difference between different Mexican restaurants as opposed to the normal commercial, not really Mexican restaurants about, and this kind of offering, it would be ideal. I would add, in answer to your comment about licensing not surrendered, licenses not surrendered, where you're quite right. I just really point out that sadly, according to media and their websites, that Adam Hanling's Hoxton the Frog has permanently shut, as has the Red Rooster, very nearby at 45 Curtin Road. And I believe the Ace Hotel and the Goods Yard have also gone, among other premises within the local area. Sadly, and obviously we don't know what they're going to reinvent themselves as. There may be people taking them over as licensed premises. There may be people taking them over as some other kind of venture. So, thank you.
But my point was, even where they've ceased trading as businesses, the licenses still remain and can be bought over and operated by other people straight away. Mr. Chua, do you want to add anything or by way of summing up?
Yeah, I just think of that list Mr. Newman just called out, I think it's maybe only the Curtin Hotel and Restaurant that the license had lapsed. I believe that site has been taken over by Mondrian Hotels, and they at some point will have to reapply. The rest of the sites, the Frog for one, he has left that site, but the license is still there, so we'd expect a new operator to take over from that site. But it's fair to say that there will be a lot of change over the next few months as we start to see premises reopen or not reopen.
Okay, Mr. Clark, give you one last chance to sum up.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is that, as I said, there's a lot of fast food places, there's a lot of high-end places, there's a lot of DJ bars. Some of them come with problems, some of them don't. There's not many neighborhood restaurants with authentic cuisine at a mid-price range, and those kind of places all over the country do not attract antisocial behavior. That's clear, and I think this restaurant fits with that very nicely.
Okay, I'm not going to call you again, Mr. Ciprian. I think we've heard from your case very eloquently. So from the tone of the discussion, what we now have to do is to withdraw electronically in this case and make our decision. But I think you can probably gather from the tone that we are relatively happy with what we've heard and with the hours and other conditions that you have proposed. So we'll look out for the decision in the next few days at some stage. With that, thank you all for your contributions. And if you could please log out of the meeting.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.